All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Zia, and today we're going to talk about the secondary statements for AdSAS. The reason I am doing this webinar today is because the AdSAS application did a soft launch on Tuesday to basically open up all the application items, but also release the secondary statements for different schools. Now, some of them have changed from last year. Some of them may not have changed. I think the majority of them have not changed since last year. I did take a look, but I wanted to do a webinar just because I feel like many of the students have questions and comments about the webinars, and I wanted to help out, in any capacity I can to answer any questions and also show you how to do some school research as well as how to write some of the secondary statement questions. All right, that said, let me move to the next section and basically tell you what we're going to cover today. We are going to cover, we're going to tell you a little bit about us. If you have been following Dental School Coach, I don't have to tell you much, but I just want to say for the viewers who are new and just getting to know us. And then we're going to cover two major types of secondary questions, and we'll go over them in details, and I'll show you what to do, how to do it, and I'll probably do one live demo of how to come up with an answer. And then finally, I'll do a quick plug-in about our services and how we can help you. There are some free services that you can take advantage of, and there are some paid services as well if you need extra help. Now that said, let's jump right in. And as people are joining in, please, you have to watch the live webinar from the beginning, or you can just watch the replay. It's going to be available online. So what is Dental School Coach? Dental School Coach is a premier online admissions consulting platform for dental students, or pre-dental students rather. I started Dental School Coach about 5 years ago to help out pre-dentals who essentially didn't have much professional help at that point in time. So I was the first one to start a pre-dental consulting service as well as help a lot of people. Now, over the last 5 years, I coached over 900 students, and now I have a team of coaches who are helping us, helping our students to get into dental school to do a really good job with the application. Now, we do boast about our success rate, which is 96%, and that essentially means that every 100 people that we service, 96% get in, and maybe like 4% get rejected or waitlisted, which is very low. And some of my students got accepted to really brand name schools like, as you can see, Harvard, UPenn, UCSF, Columbia, and we're super proud of them, and we wanna make sure that you can get into those good schools as well. So that said, here are our team. Basically, we have 4 members who joined a few months ago, and they are amazing people. 2 of them are going to be a graduate of NYU Dental School very soon, and Navi and Pooja, they are currently in Tufts and Arizona School of Dentistry. So that's it. Let's gonna jump to the secondary statement. I think that's why you are here. You're not here to tell me about my platform, my services. You're more about how can Dental School Coach help you? So first of all, I want to introduce you to 2 types of secondary questions, and I realized this after doing a lot of digging within the secondary questions that came about this I think 2 days ago. So today's the 16th, so 2 days ago, Tuesday, the majority of the schools will ask you why you want to attend their school. Why do you want to attend XYZ? You can insert UPenn, NYU, Rutgers, whatever school you are applying to. They're going to ask you why are you applying to those schools. And the second type of questions are more behavioral type of question. Tell me about a time when you failed. Tell me about a time when you received a really bad feedback from a mentor. Tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge. And basically tell different stories about different situations, different commitments that you had and whatnot. Very common question is about teamwork. Tell me about a time you worked and led a team. So this is really important to kind of get you exposed to these kind of questions, so you know how to answer them, as opposed to relying on us as a service provider to help you out. But the goal is to teach you how to do it. But if you need extra help, we're always here. First of all, excuse me. First of all, we want to cover why you want to attend a certain school in details. And there are many reasons to attend a dental school, specifically a known dental school, as opposed to like a relatively unknown or relatively unpopular location of dental school. So a few things that are really important that you need to pay attention and need to find some answers to before you start writing the answer to this question. And I can guarantee you that many of the schools that require a secondary application will require you to answer this question. They'll say, why Boston University? Why ASDO? Why MOSDO? Why Tufts? Why Toro? It's very common. So you want to look at first the curriculum of the school. What in the school's curriculum is very interesting, very attractive for you. For example, USC. University of Southern California has problem-based learning, which is very much different from Tufts, which basically has a traditional curriculum, but I am sure they have a good curriculum. Some schools have, some schools have, let's say, one exam every week. I think Nova does that, or I think Penn does that. So you don't have to cram in a lot of information for all the exams you'll be taking in a week. So you just take one exam a week, which is great. Some schools, really focus on getting you board certified, getting you past your boards. Like NYU, they boast a 100% board passing rate, which is pretty amazing. So you need to do some digging and find out this curriculum information, which is quite easy to find out actually. Sometimes it's hard because the schools don't post a lot of the good stuff online, but in most cases it should be easy nowadays that you have a lot of resources in front of you. And I'll show you some resources. So the second thing you should be looking at is the school's diversity and the size of the student body. So if you're going to school in the Midwest, it's probably not going to be diverse. But you never know. You need to look at their profiles, their student bodies, as well as the size of the school. For example, size matters. NYU has over 350 to 400 students. So does Boston. I think Boston has close to like 270, 300 huge schools. Versus you have like tiny schools like Harvard, Stony Brook, that just don't have the space. So most of the schools are going to be somewhere between 80 to 120 range, and that's a good size you can compare. But if you go to two tiny schools, your network is going to be small. If you go to too large of a school, you might not get the resources that you need, like a bench maybe to practice your drilling and filling and stuff. The other thing to think about is the diversity of your classmates. If the whole class is of a certain race and ethnicity, it might be lacking in diverse thoughts and understanding. So you need to be careful about that. And then the third thing is the clinical resource and training. As a dentist, you're going to be a clinician at the end of the day. So the schools that prepare you the most from a clinical perspective will be the best bet for you. Now, how do you know what resources they have on their, in that specific school? If you have never visited this school, or if you have not gone to the school, or you don't know much about the school, I'll show you what to do. And then you can look at externship or internship opportunities. In many of the global schools, like the brand schools like NYU and Penn, Harvard does it. They would do some kind of like externship or internship opportunities for their students. It's probably rare for schools that are smaller in size, or schools that are not the most not the most global branded schools. Global programs. I think global programs are cool, but not many of the schools are going to have it. But if they have it, I think it's something to mention. I think it's really important for them to see. that you know about their programs. And then the final thing is situational advantage. Many of the schools that are situated in a big city, they would have a bigger population pool, and you'll have more patients to practice on. Versus if it's a smaller school in the suburbs or in the rural areas, you'll have a hard time getting patients, and maybe it's going to be more difficult for you to find diversity of patient pool. So those are good things to look at. Now I'm going to give you an example, NYU as an example. I think NYU is a good example because number one, this last 2-3 years, they have only been asking one secondary question, and it's why do you want to attend NYU? And it's 5,000 characters. Kind of too much, to be honest with you. It requires a lot of writing. 5,000 characters is more than what you have for your AdSense application. But it's doable to look at all the characteristics, all the things that they have, and all the resources that they provide. I think it's a good school from that perspective, and you'll have no problem finding those informations. Now, NYU is a great program. It's a huge program. So there are pros and cons to that, right? So when you write to NYU about their program, you should talk about the pros. You should not talk about the cons of the program. So when you talk about a larger program, it means that more patients, more diversity, more differences in thoughts, opinions, and study groups, which is great for you as a student. On top of that, you have a huge network when you graduate. You have a large network that can be your support, be there for you if you need them. So I think that's great. The next thing you need to look at is their clinical program or their academic program. So I think, as I mentioned, they really care about the board passing. So they have 100% passing rate, and they coach you to pass the exam. So that's really important, and you should mention that in your essay. The clinical rigor of the curriculum, we'll take a look at that in their website just in a few. The global, they have also global programs. I think they send their students to different countries to serve, as well as they have externship and internship opportunities as well. So those are good things to mention. And then finally, I think one of the more important things is that it's in New York City. It's a lot of opportunity out there to practice on different group of patients, different type of patient, and making sure that you have a solid idea. Some of the resources specifically that NYU provides to the city that would be of interest for you, and you should mention them in the essay as well. So let's do some quick website research to find out what's going on, right? So I pulled out NYU School of Dentistry and admissions or academic programs. I think that's probably where you want to start. But at the same time, you should just look at, first of all, if I were you, I would just look at the news, right? I'll just look at all news. Recent news, calcium deficiency in cells, so that's basically like a research, and then you can see more research like NIH grant. You could talk about that if you're interested in research and want to continue it in dental school. There is a fact sheet for NYU. I think that's good as well. So if you want to read some more information about the dental school, you can do that. So this guy, dentistry, he's a 2020 graduate, or soon to be graduate. He's writing some good stuff about psychoactive drugs and their connection with dentistry. So the NYU has a dental van. I think it has had a dental van for a while, but I think it's new now. So that's another story to talk about. They also opened up a new facility for disability oriented people. So those are good stuff to mention, and not many people are gonna go for the easy wins. They're just gonna stick with stuff that they already know. But if you look at their news page, you'll see a lot of publication, a lot of news, a lot of articles that you can talk about, and customize it for your profile. Show them what you know about the school. Show them how to best position yourself as a candidate. Then you can look at their student life. Maybe if you connect a few things, you can probably learn about the oral cancer work that they do, student leadership tracks that they have, support and resource group, and things like that. I think those are good stuff to mention as well. So if you're coming from LGBT services or multicultural services or spiritual, if you're coming from a spiritual group like a religious group and affinity group, you should look into this and mention them in your essay as a point of specificity, because NYU essay is 5,000 characters and it's a lot of characters that you should talk about if you're applying to NYU. So is the same case with Penn. I don't think Penn has that many characters or words for you, but you can still talk about a lot of things. Penn website is also very extensive. Now, let's look at a website that's not as extensive. I think University of Louisville is like, okay, it's not the most school out there. Well, let's rephrase this. It's not the most prominent school out there. It's in Kentucky. Not many people want to go to Kentucky, so it's hard to find resources on their website. But I think their website it's newly done. Last year when I looked at it, it wasn't as good as this year's website. But I want you to take a look at news first. I think the news gives you some really good perspective of why you want to go to Kentucky. So let's say you want to go to Kentucky. Let's say you want to apply to U Kentucky because it's your state school, or maybe it's because you just feel that it's a good school for you, good program for you. I think some of the things you can mention are treatment for kids, talking about this new research that they came about from Alzheimer's perspective, and then maybe talk about how students can gain through ADEA fellowship. Those are good things to talk about. And there is no right or wrong answer in your supplements. So as long as you're providing really interesting perspective of the schools that they're surprised by, or know that they have done a lot of research, they'll be pleased with you. So the blog is also a good resource to look at. Like Healthy Gum. I think some of the blogs are just like really generic, so you need to be careful about what you read and what you know about this school. The other good way to find out more about this school is do some more stalking. And now you can see my you can okay, I think that's better. I don't want you to see my friends list on the internet, but what I want you to see is that this is University of Louisville, Kentucky School of Business. Sorry, not a School of Business, School of Dentistry rather. I just finished my business degree. That's why maybe I'm biased, but who knows. But basically, what I want to showcase is what the students are doing here. The students are performing. They're social. They have a social life. They also have specific posts about their students. I think that's interesting to know. So some of the blog articles, some of the news articles are going to be repeated on their Facebook page. It's just a social media strategy, but also you can look at some other things that the students are doing that will be of interest for you or to you. And you may want to do some more digging in there. May even reach out to a student. So, for example, sometimes they tag their students on the photo that they take. So I don't know if they do that for most of their pictures. But what you can do is that you can talk to the students directly and say, hey, what has been your experience at Louisville? What have you learned? What are some of the things that I should know about this school? I'm interested in applying to this school, and what are some of the things that you recommend I should do for the supplemental essay? And it's not bad. It's like a good thing. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, wow, that kid is like really interested in our school. He's interested in knowing some more. Let's help him out. All right, that kind of concludes the first part of our first type of the questions that you're gonna get, like why NYU, why Louisville, why Penn. It's a really good it's a really good thing that if that you need to do research on the school and do it really well, so that they are impressed with your thoroughness of the research. So in that said, let's kind of move to the second part of the secondary application and questions. I think the second part of the questions are more like behavioral questions or situational questions, and they need to be answered the same way that you answer an interview question. Like, for example, if the interviewer asks you, hey, tell me about a time when you overcame a challenge, and how did you do it? The best way to answer this question is the STAR framework or STAR method, as I teach it in my interview classes or mock interview sessions. STAR method basically represents situation, task is the T, A for action, and R for result. And I'll go in depth, in details about how to apply this STAR method in the next slide. But what I want you to realize that a lot of the time, the questions are going to be somewhat similar and somewhat redundant. So, as many times as you can, repurpose your stories, reuse them so that you don't have to do multiple essays or multiple stories. You can just write one story, and that could be used for 3 or 4 secondary statement questions. So let's look at one specific question that I found at UKentucky, and I think it's a good question. Describe an instance where you received feedback from a mentor, supervisor, and instructor that was critical of your performance. Explain how you handled this feedback. So what I want you to take away from this question is that it's a very situational question. You may not have gotten any negative feedback or any kind of constructive feedback, but I wanted to showcase an example that would give you some idea as to how to answer that question. So, for example, I was talking about my own life, and I decided to use this following story. The situation was that I was taking a lot of classes. I was taking 5 classes, and also was doing lab research. So I could not really focus on the lab research, and started performing poorly in data collection and other lab-related activities. So, just to give you some specific example, like I was going to lab late at night, not getting good data points, not getting good conditions of the bacteria that I was growing. So the supervisor was not happy. The task or the assignment that I had was to isolate some kind of protein that will be injected into a subsequent mice study. And after the supervisor told me that, hey, he wasn't happy with what I was doing, he wanted me to improve on what I needed to do, I decided to that I had a lot on my plate and I couldn't drop any of my classes, so I wanted to focus on my academics more. So I talked to the supervisor and the PI, and I took a leave of absence from the lab after discussing it with them, and I basically said, hey, I'll come back, but this semester let me focus on my academics. And that's what I did. I ended up focusing on my classes and did pretty well. And then later, I went back to the lab the following semester and continued my research, and got a paper published within the 3 semesters that I researched afterwards. So this is basically applying the STAR framework in context, and providing you details as to, like, hey, look at these stories, not just as stories, but also a very much structured process to answer the question that they're asking. And you can use STAR method for any kind of question that is more behavioral type. Tell me about a time when you overcame a failure. Tell me about a time when you led a team. Any kind of stories that are of the STAR, of the STAR type, you can answer with this STAR framework. So with that said, we're going to do one in real time. I think this is going to be a bit challenging because real-time stories are tougher than if I had done it previously. But let's do one real time. So tell me about a time when you overcame a struggle. This is a really common question. A lot of people are going to ask that. So I can provide an example of my professional life, of my academic life, or of my personal life. And I think the most important for you guys, undergraduates, applying to dental school, would be an academic one, because that's where they're going to be able to see, hey, this is the type of student I need to have in my school. So let's give you an academic type of struggle that you overcame. When I started college, first semester, I did not have much of college prep going in. So the first semester I took General Chemistry 1, and then ended up not doing well in the first midterm. I realized that looking at the way I was studying, the way I was taking the exam, it was not ideal, and I realized that I needed to change the way I needed to change the way of doing things. So immediately I took ownership of my failure, and started going to classes early on to talk to the professor, and also stayed late to ask him more questions. Prepared my lectures ahead of time, so read ahead and did the problem statements ahead of time, as well as formed a study group to study with different people. And by doing these new activities, by studying with people, by working with different TAs and professors, I was able to get an A- in the next exam. Although it's not perfect, but I was improving. And at the final exam, to my surprise, I scored a 95 in the Gen Chem final, which was really shocking. And I really I attribute my success in the class to the activities that I've taken up on after my first failure. And basically what I've done was changing my study habits, and as well as became more active in how to conduct the studies. So if you look at this story that I just said, the situation is that the person was taking college level classes for the first time, and they were not ready for it. So what ended up happening is that they were not as serious or as urgent, they're not showing as much urgency as they should. So I ended up doing poorly in the first exam. So the next thing he did was take ownership of it, and basically he started doing things right. He started going to classes early, staying later, asking questions, preparing the materials ahead of time, talking to his teammates, talking to his classmates to form teams to work, and basically at the end succeeding in the class by getting a really high score on the final exam. So that's how you can talk about a struggle and how you overcame the challenge and the struggle. It's a really common one. If you don't want to sound common, if you don't want to be unique, come up with your own story. Be structured in how you present the story. I think that's the key, because when the outcomes are reading the stories, they want to see some kind of structure in your way of writing, in your way of thinking. So that's my advice on that. Be structured. Use the STAR framework for the behavioral type of questions. So with that said, I think we're going to turn to talking about us now. So dental school coach, we can help. We can help a lot by providing free or sometimes paid services. But let's dig in. So you can sign up for a 20-minute free consult with us to get more help. And you can just let us know what you need help with. We would be happy to help on the phone. Once you sign up, we can talk more. But I also want to mention the end-to-end packages that are currently going on sale. So basically, these end-to-end packages cover everything that you need to have, or you need for a successful application in this season. We provide unlimited advice. We provide school selection, activity summary edits. We also help with personal statements. We help with secondary statements as well as mock interviews, and we do it with efficiency and with results. As I mentioned, our students got accepted to really top dental schools. So we are we're really proud of our success, and many of our students actually used our different services, but they didn't use it as a bundle. So we wanna make sure that these bundles are affordable and not too expensive for you. That's why we kind of changed some of the things here to the pricing, and they're at 20% to 25% sales for some of them. Definitely check them out. One other thing that I do want to mention is that secondary applications could be difficult at times when, let's say, you're studying for the DAT, you're not fully 100% focused, and you have like so many other things going on. Maybe you're taking classes, your classes aren't done, especially West Coast classes end later. So having us help you with your secondaries will take a lot of burden off of you and into like how to think about the answers, how to structure your answers, how to present the answers in a legitimate way that adcoms like. So that said, I'll leave it up for you. If you have any question, do send me an email at dentalschoolcoach@gmail.com, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.